over to Gary to open up.
In my manner. Welcome to Westminster Kingsway College, ladies and gentlemen. The second day of the Westminster Entrepreneurs Society and the Global Entrepreneurship Week as well. And on behalf of Westminster Kingsway College, Capital City College Group, and Vissionaires, of course, and Unlock, and of course we've got the City of Westminster Council here to support this as well. I think this second day around growth and sales is really, really important. I mean, that's the crux of what business is all about, really, isn't it? And it's certainly something that being a chef really, really encourages and helps me as well. So I know that today's session is going to be really invaluable, and I know this is the second session of 3 that we're having. We've got another one tomorrow, which is about finances.
Money tomorrow. We've got one on pitching as well on Thursday.
And pitching as well.
Yeah.
I mean, so these are, for me, these are unmissable events, and I think they're really crucial to the individual and diverse businesses that you guys are either running or certainly in your concept of wanting to run and take it forward. We've got some great speakers here, some great presenters here today. The idea is you absolutely squeeze them dry and get as much out of them as you possibly can, and just learn and just start to make mistakes and get back up again and have another go. There's nothing wrong with that whatsoever. So thank you, Pablo. This is an absolutely fantastic session. I know you're going to be absorbed. So Pablo, over to you.
Thank you very much. So guys, do you want to come and join me in the warm seats at the front? Thank you. So in a minute we've got a short video to show you of someone who couldn't be here, but and you'll see from the video why they're not. Before that, let's introduce the panel. So Matt, why don't you start? Yeah, yes. We were asked yesterday to stand up if that works for you. Yeah, so you can. Yeah. So go on.
Hi, I'm Matt, CEO and founder of Juice Talent Development. We are an online training business primarily. We also offer government-funded training, all to the recruitment space. So I used to own a recruitment business. I sold that 14 years ago. Started producing some training films for the recruitment sector, some DVDs, as they were 14 years ago. Then we went online because we made no money out of that. People just copy the DVDs. So we sold them into 35 different countries. We went online 10 years ago, and so we produce learning content, we produce videos, learning management systems, so technology, helping people learn, all for the recruitment sector.
Thank you. Carrie.
Hi, I'm Carrie. I'm a voice coach, as you may be able to tell. Help people with their voices for singing and also for public speaking. So I have that business, and also with 5 of my business partners, I run the Queens in Business Club. This is our first book, which I will be giving to somebody. And this is inspirational stories from 16 women who have started and grown their business through all the ups and downs. And what we do is we help women all around the world to start, grow and to scale their businesses. So all 6 of us have had our own businesses, we've started businesses, we've failed businesses, we've grown, some of us have not myself, but some of my partners have 6-figure businesses, and we help women with growing their businesses from start to sale.
Thank you. And Emma.
Hi, my name is Emma Good. I'm the founder of digital marketing agency 24 Fingers. So my specialism is social media, content marketing, blogging, email newsletters, and all of the stuff that you see on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram and LinkedIn every day. My passion in life is to help give confidence to people on social media. People come to me when they say, I don't know what button to press and I don't want to look stupid on LinkedIn, and that's how I help. My business has been established for 7 years. It's not been linear, it's been very much like that, and I'm looking forward to sharing some of the mistakes that I've made, what not to do, and honoured to be here. Thank you, Pablo. Thank you, Gary.
Thank you. Thanks very much. Briefly, my name's Pablo Lloyd. So we set up Vissionaires with colleagues at the college here 2 years ago. Bit of an experiment, and I'm pleased to say it's gone really well. We've helped 400 people. Some of you come on our programs. and we've now, my colleague Amanda has now set up an incubator where we're helping businesses that have got the potential to employ other people and provide social impact back into the communities. So we're able to give them deeper, broader support as well in that way as well. And we're now working across London and also just about to start operating in the north of England. And I guess I kind of fell into entrepreneurship when I joined an organisation in the education. I've worked in financial services and music. And it was fine, but it wasn't kind of inspiring me. And I was offered the chance to join a startup in the education sector. And I realised when I was doing that, and this was about 20 years ago, that I was able to open doors for other people to go through in the way that doors had opened for me. And I've been quite fortunate. I got some lucky breaks. And I thought, this is great. I get to help other people climb the ladder. I get to help people open the door. You kind of have to walk through, but you can kind of open the door, point people at that, and that sort of really got into really my heart of this is what I'm here to do. And I've been doing that ever since. So this is my 4th startup, and I guess I'm a startup junkie really. And it might be my last one, or it might be the 4th of several. I don't know. We'll see how that goes. But it's a real privilege what I'm doing now, helping people do their startups, and really all my energy and excitement of what I do comes from what you're doing, and when you are able to have these interactions with our teams, with our mentors, with our panelists here today. It's a very, very exciting place to be. So thank you for coming. So Leo, we're going to go into video mode now. So Leo's just going to set up the video. And do you do that up front here? Yeah. Right. Do we do the lights?
If you could.
Right.
Hi Deborah, it's really nice that you've taken the time out of your very busy schedule to be with us for the Vissionaires Masterclass this evening. So I've got a few questions to ask you, nothing too difficult, but yeah, are you ready for us to get started?
Yes, and thank you very much for inviting me.
No, you're welcome. So the first question that we have is, how would you describe your business right now?
Right, well it's funny you should ask that, because obviously being a business owner of more than one business, and you've sort of got your fingers in a bit of everything. So obviously my substantial business is childcare, and that's where I drew my career and my training from. But along the way, so I've been a business owner for 18 years, and along the way I've picked up becoming a property developer. I sort of fell into that when I was actually looking for premises for my nursery many years ago, and basically I was looking for premises. I couldn't find the right field, the right one that I wanted, and then one day I came across a derelict petrol station site, and I knew that was the ideal location. So I then kind of developed the idea and went into obviously building my purpose-built day nursery.
Now, when you say that was an ideal location, I had to smile because I cannot imagine that many people look at petrol stations and think that's the ideal place to build a nursery.
Well, it was in a very key location because it was set back off a main road, surrounded by houses, a shopping precinct, a bus terminus, so transport was easily accessible. Obviously, you've got local amenities that are just at the side of the site. It was just in a really, really good location. Obviously, doing the work, the actual development of the whole business and the project, it took nearly 2 years actually. The building itself was built in less than 6 months, but it was all the sort of clean-up operation that we needed to do. But luckily I'd grown up in that area as a child, and I then left that area, as you do when you're in your late teens, and then I actually came back to live in the same area. So I knew prior to being a petrol station, it was farmland before. So with the grace of God and fingers crossed, but there wasn't too much clean-up work to be achieved.
Good. Okay. So, let me ask you now. You've answered it a little bit, but just expand on that a bit more. How did you get started?
So, I mean, to get started, I had mentors. I come from a social care background, so I didn't know anything about building a building. I'd not been in business before for myself, so I was so fortunate that I ended up having two really, really good mentors that were experts in their fields. So one was development and one was about business and operational parts of business. So with those two people, it was really, really key. I just felt as though sometimes I would have struggled tremendously without their support. You know, they helped me to keep focused, they kept me on track, and the main thing, they kept me accountable. So when they set me tasks to achieve, obviously I had to be accountable for carrying out those tasks and moving the project from one stage to the next.
And would you say that the support from those two mentors was a key help that you got along the way?
Oh yes, absolutely. As I said before, I don't know, like it would have, without their support and their guidance was second to none. And I think when people are looking at mentors and business coaches, it's about looking at the success of that person and that person's track record, because some people, I'm a business coach and mentor, and some people will say, well, how do I know if I've got the right person? And I'll simply say, well, look at their track record of success, look at what they know about that industry, look at how they sort of developed themselves throughout time and what their successes are.
Yeah.
So because you can have mentors that are not in the same industry, but they are successful in the same right because they understand the concept of business. So yes, so having a mentor is very key.
Thank you. So, what kept you going when things got tough?
Well, when things got tough, I told myself that failure wasn't an option, and also my children were always my driving force. Because ultimately, when you're when you're managing your own time and you're creating financial wealth that is a target that you set for yourself, then obviously by creating financial wealth, you're freeing up your time, you're managing your time so you're able to be more flexible with your family and also be able to spend the time with them and create the time to do the things that you enjoy with the people that you love the most.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I can really relate to that. What's one key bit of advice you'd give to someone starting a business for the first time?
My main thing would be to say to anybody starting a business is that when we're doing anything new, it's always a bit of a scary reality, and it's very easy to talk ourselves out of it. But what I would say is feel the fear, but do it anyway.
Feel the fear, but do it anyway. Yeah. Debbie, thank you so much. There's just one more question that I've got for you.
Okay.
Why are you not with us in person right now at the event in Victoria in London?
Because I'm currently in the Caribbean. I'm actually in Barbados. I'm here working on a number of projects. One is to franchise my existing business. I'm so committed to developing and improving the lives of children, and what better way by sort of like wrapping around early education with care. So I'm obviously out here developing that concept and creating opportunities for other women to get on board and to develop their own business in childcare. I'm also very much ahead of women empowerment. I'm very passionate about also empowering women, because when you empower women, you change children's lives too. So I'm so passionate about that I'm also developing a business where we can have our own business program that we roll out to women, and even perhaps have retreats. I'm looking at perhaps a retreat in the Caribbean at some point, the UK, Europe, but certainly we will have one next year, and so watch this space. So, you know, I would like to kind of say to people that, you know, to start your own business is such a tremendous success story for us all. I wrote my journey down so I could support other women in business and anybody that's on that journey, men and women. I'm now a best-selling author of a book called The Bigger Picture. My book was published in 2018, so and that will give everybody an idea of my journey and my starting business. I'm also working on 2 collaborative books, which I am the lead author, one with 10 men, and 10 men of colour, and it's about this journey from humble beginnings to very successful pathways, and the same for the women as well. And it's about women's stories and how they can empower and support other women.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Debbie, it's well done. You're really inspiring and encouraging. I'm sure there's many sitting, listening, that are at the stage in their journeys as you were, beginning, you know, needing that motivation, that support to keep going, trying to overcome those feelings of fear. And so we really appreciate you taking the time out. The sun you're enjoying there, so we're enjoying the visual here.
Oh, it's amazing. It's amazing, and you know, I just want to say to anybody out there that's at the beginning stages of starting their own business, it can feel like such a daunting experience, but one of the things I always sort of say to people is think big but build small, and every small step you take is closer to your bigger picture and your bigger dreams, because dreams can come true. And mine certainly have, and I've been able to give my 3 children a much better life, and being able to be there for them in a way I wouldn't have been able to be there for them if I was working as an employee for someone else. So yes, it's been an incredible journey, but I've loved every minute of it. So
it's the key, isn't it? When you love what you're doing, you're best at that. You're best at things that you love and enjoy doing. Deborah, thank you so much for your time this evening. Thank you.
Thank you so much. It's been a privilege to be invited by yourself, Casita, and Pablo to be on this platform. So thank you so much as well. And I hope to see you all soon. Okay, bye.
That was Debbie Simon. So there was some really, if you listen carefully to that, some really important truths, and we'll hear some of those and, you know, reflect on that from what Debbie said. One thing she didn't say is that yeah, one thing I happen to know is, because you heard the story that she started a daycare nursery on a disused petrol station. Do you know how much money she had to get started? Anybody guess?
10,000.
10,000? Any offers on 10,000?
20,000.
How much?
20,000.
20,000? Any last and final offer, and then it's gone? 5,000, okay. She had £300.
What?
She had £300. she's built an entire daycare centre. So there's read her book. So she had £300 in her pocket when she had this idea, hey, I'll turn this petrol station into a daycare centre. Yeah, that's the kind of person he is, and also the kind of thing that is possible. Okay, so Leslie, you don't need a lot of money to, she said, think big, and build small. So, follow that, as they say. But look, let's. So everyone's got their different story. I'm going to start with you, Emma. So how did you start on your entrepreneurial journey? What was that story at the beginning?
So I didn't choose to start a company, I was forced into it. I'd worked in publishing for 25 years, and for anybody that knows about print and publishing, people aren't buying as many magazines now, we're consuming content online, so my print spend was going like that, and I knew that the writing was on the wall. And if I'm honest, I used to get paid to sit in the pub with my colleagues all day long, so I knew that if my job was going to disappear, I wouldn't get that same job back. And my son was just about to start secondary school, and I thought, I'm coming up to 40, I've got to do something else in my life because otherwise I'm going to be left behind. And I got made redundant. I was on a 25-year continual contract, so I was like, brilliant, make me redundant, I'm going to get some money from the government, I can take things easy, I've worked like a dog for 30 years, I can take the foot off the pedal for a bit. And the company went insolvent the month before I was made redundant, so I got nothing. And I thought, right, now's the time to start my own business, because if I don't do it now, I'm never going to do it. And it was 7 years ago, so it was just at the beginning of social media, so I was a bit of a kind of early adopter, and there wasn't that many people doing it, so I was able to learn quickly, and I didn't look back. I also didn't have a choice, I was a single parent, I had bills to pay, so there was nobody that was going to kind of prop me up. So I thought, right, let's go for it. And I told Pablo the story about this. So my company's called 24 Fingers, and people always say, why'd you call it that? Well, when I decided to make this company, I went into business with two of my friends that I worked with, and one was a designer, one was a writer, and I was social, so I thought, really nice mix, complementary skills, we're all going to get on, it's all going to be fine. And we were just about to sign the paperwork, and I looked at it, and I was like, wait a minute, your husband and wife, you're going to take 66% of the money, I'm doing 80% of the work, like I can't have this. And then not from a greed point of view, but just from a, wait a minute, like I'm working 18 hours a day, I'm doing a day job and a night job, I've got to protect myself and my son. So I phoned up to say, look, the numbers don't work out here, we've got to have a chat. And they went, actually, sod it, we're going to go and we're going to do it ourselves. And I'd already registered the company under 24 Fingers, 3 people, 8 fingers. So I had no choice, I had to carry on by myself, but actually it all turned out best because we're still best friends, they're much better doing it themselves, and husband and wife, it's much better for them. But at the time I was like, oh my God, I'm on my own, I don't know what I'm doing, I've never run a business before, what can I do? But as the lady said, it was sink or swim, and I didn't have a choice, I had to swim. But quite tough at the time, and lots of nights thinking, can I do this? But equally thinking, I've got to do it, and kind of split between the two.
Thank you. Carrie, what about you? What was your introduction to entrepreneurship?
Well, I actually started my business by accident because I had been a singer for like 20 odd years. I decided to stop performing. I'd had enough of the music industry, but I was still living the music industry lifestyle. So I was teaching, I teach in a college as well, so I was teaching Monday to Friday, teaching music. Friday, Saturday and Sunday, I was partying, and it got too much. So after about a year of that, I got bored, and I said, this is just ridiculous. So going into work with a hangover, being totally honest, was not a good look as a music lecturer teaching 16-year-olds. It was a party lifestyle. So I thought I need something that's going to get me up on a Saturday morning so that I don't go out raving on the Friday. So I thought, right, well, I can help other people with their voices. How will I do that? So I went on Gumtree, and I put an ad on Gumtree for £6, and I was fully booked. By the end of the day, my Saturday was fully booked, and that's how it took off. So that was in September, and by Christmas I was completely fully booked. I had no evenings or weekends to myself, and I realised that I had to claw it back somehow and make it work as a business.
And your business was as a singer, was that right? Or
I was a singer before,
Yeah.
but by now I was a music lecturer and now a private voice coach. I had been.
Oh, I see, a private voice guy. I get
voice
that.
coach,
Sorry, I
yeah.
missed that. Yeah,
So
yeah,
I had
yeah.
been teaching people how to sing for years and years before
Yeah,
that, but I did it in between tours. So I would go on tour for a couple of months, come back and teach for a couple of months, go on tour. That kind of lifestyle. But it doesn't work when you're trying to do both. So started my business by accident. Within 3 months was fully booked. Had to claw it back. And then when it became a business, that's when things got really interesting.
And we make on. So okay. So there's a theme here, which was you were trying to not go to the pub. You were trying to not go to the clubs. What were you trying to get away from?
That's a very personal question. I'm not going down that road.
Okay.
But where did I start? So recruitment was where we started. That's quite an incestuous industry, one renowned for partying pretty hard too. But I fell into it, so I came back from travelling. I had a lot of debt. I went to a temping agency and they said, why don't you come and work here? And I was like, well, not really sure. I looked around, there was a lot of pretty girls. I thought, maybe I'll give it a go. I looked into it and kind of matched my skill set. It's quite an entrepreneurial industry because you kind of run your own business within a company. So, you have to find your own clients, you have to go out and find your candidates, you have to interview them, qualify them, match them, make the placement. So it kind of, just matched what I was good at. Did that for a while and then bought the company I was working for when I was 28 and diversified into some other sectors. And after I bought it, it sounds kind of quite grandiose, but it wasn't that much. The company wasn't doing that well at the time, but we hit some really rough times. Had to kind of get rid of people and scale things back, and we had bailiffs and all kinds of horrible experiences. But eventually, kind of 8 years later, I managed to sell it. We diversified into some different sectors, and then I was like, right, I'm never going to do that again. It was too much hard work. I'll do a fun project. So I set up. We filmed these training films that were. Like a comedy drama scenario, like Ricky Gervais's The Office. We kind of copied that format. We had this character called Wayne Kerr and Sunshine Recruitment and stuff. And I loved it. It was a really interesting process. I learned a lot. We sold the DVDs everywhere, but as I said before, it made no money. So then we thought, well, let's go online because we can do a subscription business. And that's when things kind of start to take off. So people pay kind of a monthly amount to have access to our entire library. And the journey, I wish I'd learned from the first time. I kind of got burnt out first time round, had some time off, partied quite a lot, and then got back into it. And to be honest, I'm kind of worn out again at this stage, and I'm ready to sell. So you would think you kind of would have learned from that experience, but maybe not.
Yeah. But you sold out your first business, and you've built up your next business to the point where you can at least think about selling it.
Yeah.
And, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I will sell next year for sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
For sure.
So I'm just thinking and think about some of the questions we had earlier on, and I'm going to stay with you, Matt, for the minute, which is the thing about, and particularly working in and near the recruitment industry, which is very, very sales driven. And that question, I think you asked it earlier, but so, when I'm kind of, chasing customers, how do I get to the point where I'm not just kind of chasing them and sort of stressing out about that, where I'm actually getting a bit of a flow of income? Is that possible? Is that feasible? Have you got any tips for that?
That's a big question.
It is a big question,
There's lots of things. You talked about being authentic when you sell, which is a great thing to say, and it's exactly right. I think I'm pretty good at sales, but not because I'm a good salesman, because I believe in what I'm selling. So being the best at what you do, whether it's, obviously my recruitment business wasn't the best recruitment business in the world, but the niche that we focused on, we were the best, or I believe we were the best, we might not have been. So when you're talking about it, when you're selling it, when you're doing your website, that comes across. I think that makes a big difference. It's probably one of the key things for me.
Yeah, yeah.
And then just, I guess, different avenues to market. So, if you're dependent on one channel, you're always going to be stressed out if that doesn't work for any reason. So measure the results from different channels to market, and obviously then just focus on the ones that are good.
And Carrie, does that resonate with you, that having real belief in what you're, so as a voice coach, you must rate yourself
Well, yeah,
why would someone buy from you if you don't?
Yeah.
So is that something that you feel as well?
Yeah, it's about believing in yourself and what you're selling, and also building a relationship with the person who's buying it as well. So if you build that relationship, you won't feel like you're selling. They'll want to buy it anyway. So if you think of it as opening up a conversation about how you can help them. So when you help them to buy, I mean, I've even been in situations where I've held back because I thought my client was too big, and they've said, listen, Carrie, I want to buy your service, help me to buy it. So when you open up to actually what you can do to help them, what your product or service is going to do for them, what do you do, if you don't mind me asking?
Yeah, I'm a personal performance coach.
Okay.
So it's just helping people
Yeah.
to go for what they want and to unlock. I think that we've all got options, and sometimes we don't see them, and it's just helping them unlock that connection to those options.
Exactly. So when you're talking to someone, if you're able to, you probably are able to figure out what it is that's actually holding them back, and when you pinpoint that for them, you open their eyes. Sometimes they haven't even realised themselves, and so then they know that they can trust you, and they're going to want to buy from you. You won't even need to sell to them.
So how about you, Emma? What's your experience of that? And particularly in the early days when you're trying to kind of break into the market, and maybe you're not feeling 100% confident of how you get through that transition.
So I was quite lucky. I started the business with clients, 10 clients, because I'd worked in the evening as a side hustle because I saw the writing was on the wall, and I was like, right, I've got to protect myself. So day job was publishing, night job was social media. So I've done 18-hour days for about 6 or 7 years. So I really resonate with what you're saying, Matt. So I started the business with 10 clients, which is probably quite rare. So I did have a bit of a comfort blanket, and they were all people that I knew, that liked me, that trusted me. I went to all the people that I'd bought from in the past and started selling to them, but really agreed with what Carrie said. I don't see myself as a salesperson, but when I talk to somebody, I use like 2 of these, 1 of these, listen to them, see what their pain points are, and naturally, I've got enough products in the business. I've got like 100 products and services to sell in the business, so I've always got something to offer somebody, no matter what stage they're at. Some people will come to me for an hour of hand-holding, some people will come to me for like a big year-long strategy, but it's about me identifying how best I think I can help. And there's some people what I can't help. There's some people that aren't going to be a fit for me. Like, I'm not going to be a fit for somebody that expects somebody that doesn't drop their H's and minds their P's and Q's, because I'm really kind of authentic. I work very much with small business owners. I'm not going to be the person that works for a PLC. It's just not in us. So I kind of identify, are we a fit culturally? Do I think I can do the best job for you? Have you got the budget? Like, that's one of my first questions now, because being frank, I spent years doing pictures with people, spending hours doing right fancy presentations in my own time, and then I'd deliver them, be brilliant ideas, and they go, oh yeah, thanks for the idea, see you later, and I'll be like, wait a minute, I've just spent like hours doing all this stuff. So one of my first questions now is, have you got the budget, have you got the appetite, do you actually want to do this? Because some people say to me, oh Emma, I've got to be on social media, and I'm like, have you really, why? And they say, well, I've just got to be, and I said, no, actually, do you need leads? And they go, yeah, and I said, right, you don't need to be on social media, you need to be on Google Ads. So we'll have quite a frank conversation now, and that's evolved over 7 years. At the beginning, I was so desperate for sales, I'd be like saying yes to everything. I used to do social media, and I'm not joking when I say this, for super yachts and debt collectors and everyone in between. I do social media for anybody. And then I think Pablo will come on to this, but I had a trough time in the business, and then I niched down, and that made everything a lot more streamlined, and I got clarity, and now I just sell to a certain group of people.
So let's pick up on that. There's a lot of things you've raised there that we, because there was the point about pricing, we'll perhaps come back to that. Because we've touched on it a few times, the bit where it's, and you've all hinted at it, this really isn't going well. So we'll stay with you, Emma, for that. So when you hit that, particularly those early months and years when you're finding your feet, you're working out what your product is, you're working out who your customers are and all of that, what really gets you through? What really gets you through?
How long have you got? Right, I know we're finishing at 6. So for me personally, year 1 and 2 were really great. By the end of year 2, I got up to 6 figures. I had a team of 7. I had offices up Liverpool Street. Everything was going all right, but it was really shaky foundation. So on the outside in, it looked fantastic, but really there was no processes, there was no systems. The team that I had didn't have my back, and I felt really stretched. And year 3, everything imploded. So in the October of year 3, my best friend who I sublet an office with died through a medical negligence thing, and that knocked me for 6, and it meant I couldn't lead a team, because going back to your point about authenticity, I used to walk into the office and just sit at my desk and cry, and you can't lead a team like that, so I knew that things had to change, because it wasn't fair on them and it wasn't fair on me. I found out my husband was leading a double life in November, and again that knocked me for 6, and then in the December my dad got terminal cancer, so by the January I couldn't turn my phone off, I could barely look at my emails. The team had left, which was quite right, you know, they needed to do that as young people. But what that gave me was a massive wake-up call. I got rid of the office, I started working locally, I saved £500 a month on office rent, which went to pay for my son's school. I was renting in a flat at the time because I'd moved house because I split up with my husband. So at the beginning of the month, I don't mind sharing, I used to wake up with, I think £3.5 grand worth of outgoings on the first of the month, and I won't bring any money in, so I was buggered. On the second day of the month, I was just like, what am I going to do? So one by one, I kind of got rid of the stresses in my life, so I scaled back. I decided to work in 3 different niches. One was entrepreneurial people, one was Essex-based businesses, another one was coaches, kind of therapists. And the minute I did that, it literally felt like my shoulders went, I can breathe. I hyper-targeted my local community, so I met my good friend and transformational therapist Myra, and I went hell for liver on networking, so I'd go to the opening of an envelope just to show my face, so I really embedded myself in my local community, people got to know me, and gradually I started building the business up again, but from a much more secure, solid foundation, rather than chasing the money, chasing the 6 desks, you know, desks and chairs. And it worked from an ego or status point of view. It was a bit of a snowball, and I couldn't get off that kind of roller coaster until it all went really wrong, and then I rebuilt.
Yeah, wow.
In a nutshell, there's a lot more to it, but
I'm sure there is, and if you want to chat to him at the end, you can do that, because I know that there's a lot more to that. So Carrie, what gets you? And I know Matt, you've got some interesting. It's a great podcast you did actually. Or we might can we point people at the podcast? Sure. Amazing podcast you did. But let's start. But Carrie first. But what gets you through the times when? Because you've described how you started, and you've got. You know, you had quite a fast start, didn't you?
Yeah.
And you were it was going well. So has it always been like that? Are you right? Okay.
So yeah, there was a point, as I said, by the December I was fully booked, it was amazing for about a year, and then redundancies came up at the college that I work at, and I didn't take a full redundancy, I reduced my hours, and I thought it's okay because I've got this voice coaching business, I can build it, I can work with everyone, and that was my first mistake, trying to work with everyone. Don't do that. But then come the second time around, the January, literally all of my clients dried up. Everyone stopped coming back. All of their children went off to do either performing arts, because I worked with kids who were doing auditions for performing arts school, so they went after their performing arts school, they didn't need me anymore. Some of my clients went off and they became professional singers, so they didn't need me anymore. And I hadn't really worked on getting the new leads in, and I had no business for about 4 or 5 months, but I still had the expenses of a full-time employee, because I had the part-time work and I had the business. And then suddenly for about 4 months I had no business, and I had all these bills and loads of debts. How did I pull myself out? I got coaches and mentors. And they told me to focus on one thing. So I niched down, I found the ideal client that I wanted to work with, and I worked on finding that one client. And I worked and worked and worked until I found that one person, and once I took that person on who fit my ideal client, then they started to come. And One thing that I learned at that time that I hadn't realised I'd learned until earlier this year actually, is that when you plant seeds, you've got to water them and feed them, and it takes a while for them to grow. So what you're doing now is going to take a few weeks or even months, maybe even a couple of years to grow. And so now when I still have peaks and troughs, and when I have those troughs, I remember I'm just sowing seeds. I've got to feed them and grow them, and then they'll give me some fruit in a couple of months or a couple of years' time.
That's great advice. And there's kind of a bit of a theme for both of you about when things got difficult, when you came out of that, you had more focus on particular clients or particular areas of the market that you were going to work on. And also a theme that Debbie picked up as well about mentoring, about getting help, about not doing it on your own.
I was terrible at asking for help. Once I started asking for help, it came flooding in.
Things entrepreneurs know everything, don't we? We don't need help. You know, that's the mistake we made. Anyway, Matt, how did you sort of get through when things didn't go the way you hoped, or just tell us how you got through it?
When you talked about the podcast, I was thinking about the time when I grew my recruitment business and kind of got to the point where I'd worked really hard, and I said, when I get to this stage, when I'm generating this much money and this much profit, then I'll be happy and everything will be great. And I kind of got there after 8 years, and I was the saddest I'd ever been, because I realised that getting to that point doesn't make you happy. So having that amount of money or success wasn't going to make me happy. I was burnt out from the journey before. So a thing I always talk to people about is enjoying the journey. So do something you love, make sure that you love what you're doing, so you can make tweaks, you control your own destiny as an entrepreneur. That's one of the best things about it. And I guess when things get tough, so with this business, we got to a point where we ran out of money. It's a subscription model, so we had money coming in, but we didn't have the cash. I know this isn't about the cash flow today, that's tomorrow, but it's the most common reason for failure of businesses. I had to remortgage my house, I'd maxed on my credit cards, I'd borrowed off all my friends, all my family. I got to that point, it was, but the way I got through that was something I call positivity planning. So every week, I'd take myself off for 1 hour, go to a coffee shop, and I'd write down all the positive things that were going on in my business, all the things that I was doing well, all the things that I was proud of. Because I don't know if everyone's the same as an entrepreneur, but I focus on all the negatives. I look at what's wrong in the business, what do I need to fix, how do I need to change things? Which is good in terms of you're focusing on the problems, but if you're focusing on the negative all the time, it can get you down. So positivity planning was my little secret.
I had a moment like that in the middle of lockdown, because lockdown, I've heard that story a lot, where things are going okay and it's fine, but actually in your head, because you're not having so many interactions with people kind of naturally, I had a really bad week, and I did what you did. I just got this big flip chart and I wrote down all the good things in my life, and it took me all day. It was brilliant. I had such a good day. I didn't do any work at all. It was a bit of a not very productive day, but actually it was, because that completely refueled. Do you know?
Yes, the energy.
It's fine. It's going to be fine. It's kind of just dealing with your head, isn't it? So yeah. So I'm just going to ask. We'll come back to the price. I want to ask about social media. I'm going to ask you, Emma, because this is your product. So what kind of, and we've got all kinds of businesses and thoughts and ideas, and our audience will come to you sort of in a few minutes. And by the way, start thinking about questions you want to ask our panelists, because I'm going to come to you in a few minutes, okay? So anything that you want them to focus in on. But just for now, what are your tips about using social media for a typical startup business? Any kind of little nuggets you can give us?
Yeah, lots. So first of all, define your voice. So 24 Fingers as social media is, for example, a bit sarcastic, a bit Essex, always use slang, and do kind of weird stuff that you wouldn't expect from social media. That's our tone of voice. Before you even post on one social media channel, work out who you are and make it really, really authentic, because people smell when you're not, and they will turn off and they won't follow you and they won't engage with you. So no matter who you are and what your ethos is, what your values are, what your business ethics are, be that on social media. Be Marmite, right? Be divisive. Not everyone's going to like you, but that's all right. Going back to my comment before, if somebody looks at my social media and doesn't get the fact that I've put on a picture of a packet of bird's eye peas, then they're not for me, because like that's us. To your tone of voice, don't think that you've got to post on every social media channel every minute of the day, because A, it's not realistic, B, you're going to get burnt out, C, you're going to start thinking about the likes and the vanity metrics, like how many people have I followed, and it will start to get really all-consuming. So look at where your target audience are. Perhaps they're on Instagram, perhaps they're not, and if they're not, don't waste your time, because you're going to have enough to do. At the point of startup, you might not have the money to outsource it, so really concentrate on where you think your ideal client's going to be, and it might be LinkedIn, it might be Google Ads, it might be Twitter, and each one of those channels is going to give you a different benefit. Don't be surprised that you don't get 1,000 followers on day one, because that's like really normal and everybody struggles with that. God, I could talk about this forever.
You could, yeah. Well, give us one more. Give us one more.
Okay,
Go on.
one more, and this is something that I did wrong. So I've been in publishing for years. Words come really easy to me. I don't even need to think. What I should have done is concentrated more effort on SEO as a lead generator. I want to check a little bit more about pipeline and consistent leads when we've got questions.
Do you want to tell us what SEO is for those
sorry,
of us not in
jargon,
the swim?
sorry. So search engine optimization, when we go on Google and we search for stuff, that's search engine optimization to get you up in the rankings. And I didn't focus on that, right? I was just like, I'm going to do Twitter, I'm going to do LinkedIn. And what I should have done is invested time and effort in SEO, because to get into Google's rankings, it's going to give me a more consistent pipeline. Now, I've never made a cold call in 7 years. I've been really lucky. Matt's probably hating me right now. Daggers. But the inbound leads that we get every day come from networking, and they come from social media. They come from things like talks and webinars. But what I should have done is spread that effort across the right channels, one of which was SEO. So have a think about where your efforts are best spent, rather than spreading yourself too thin and just thinking it's social media and it's just Instagram. Like have a think, and shout me, like drop me an email if you're unsure about what channel might be right for you. I've got some stats in terms of audience personas. If you're trying to get a 40-year-old businessman, where should you be? If you're trying to get a 25-year-old female entrepreneur, where should you go? And I'm happy to share.
Great. Wow. Okay, thank you. So, do you use social media for getting your clients? I mean, what's your focus?
So mine is so LinkedIn for public speaking and Instagram for singers. And for Queens in Business, we use everything. But there are 6 of us. We've got a big team. We've got the money behind the company to do that. So. But personally, LinkedIn is the one that's worked for me, because it works with your SEO as well, right?
Yeah, but I'm thinking now, I want to see you on TikTok for the singers of the future.
Yeah, it takes a lot of time. Maybe. But yeah, for me, LinkedIn, Facebook is one that I focused on right at the beginning. Facebook and Gumtree, don't do Gumtree anymore, but Facebook was really, really good at first, but now singers are very shy, right? And public speakers are very shy. They don't actually want people to know that they're looking for a coach, or that that's what they're doing. So Instagram kind of works, but actually YouTube has been the one.
Right.
But yeah, LinkedIn, bit of Instagram, YouTube is the one.
Yeah, and Emma's going to sell you TikTok in a minute, isn't she? Yeah, okay. So Matt, how about you?
I don't use TikTok. Let me know what it is. LinkedIn, we use LinkedIn. So obviously the recruitment sector.
Yeah.
All recruiters are on LinkedIn, and it's kind of grown over the years since I've been running the business. I guess what I found is a long game. Like the authentic bit is so important. We've hired different people to do our posts for us, and if you're kind of selling stuff or talking about things, and if it's they're using my profile, and we lost a lot of credibility using some people that just weren't authentic, because they're not me, or they're not talking the way I would. But yeah, LinkedIn, we tried YouTube for videos, we do video stuff, tried Twitter. None of them are that good for us, mainly just LinkedIn. But you can get lost in it, can't you? Like, there's so much to do. So I think picking the right one, as you say, is probably the most important thing.
So it sounds a bit like the kind of the customer insight, which is pick your markets and your customer segments, but also same again when you're looking at all of the social media channels, because it's easy to get lost, isn't it? Yeah. Okay. Let's take some questions from the audience, and so anything you want to ask our panellists? Let me see. Yeah.
I have a couple of questions,
Yeah.
all regarding social media.
Different.
So my first one is just like your do's and don'ts. Also about marketing, how do you marketing there,
Okay.
and how to boost following.
Okay. Do you mind sharing what your business idea is, or whether you've got business now? What sector?
Just selling clothing.
Okay, so fashion.
Yeah.
So my do's and don'ts for fashion brand would be have a quality control. So don't like when you get your product imagery, like really look at it before you put it out on social media, because you're in a really competitive marketplace. So your clothes images have really got to be on point. Whether that's you working with influencers or models or people that you can, like your friends that you can say, you know, can you model this? Like really benchmark the quality before you put it out there. For you, I'd say on Instagram, use your features. So for you, I'd be doing reels like all the time. I'd be really going heavy on reels. So for those of you on Instagram, you've got reels, which is your up to 60-second videos, which is like their TikTok equivalent. Then you've got stories, and you've got grid. Through the algorithm, I'd really be concentrating on reels. In terms of the don'ts, if you're thinking of paying on Facebook, in fashion you're going to have to be spending quite a lot of money, because there's like so much competition. So I'm talking like 20, 30, 40 quid a day, which soon adds up. And since the algorithm changes on Facebook, where people can opt out on iOS devices, it's made the platform quite an expensive place to play now. So the more organic traffic you can get from Reels, the more kind of help you can get from people that are willing to product and maybe do swaps. If you can do collaborations, like, is it female, is it women fashion? Yes, if you can do collaborations with people like makeup artists, jewellery people, the more you can get them to spread your stuff, the better, because right now you probably don't want to be spending thousands on all this stuff. So like leverage your network and do collaborations, because in fashion, the smaller brands will all want to be doing the same. So get with some like-minded people. And Amanda and I were chatting before the session. Make sure they're like-minded people that fit in with your values and ethics, because you don't want them promoting your brand and then looking at it going, well, wait a minute, I don't stand for that. So make sure that culturally it's a fit as well. What was your next thing? So do's and don'ts, it was...
The social media and marketing and how to boost your followers.
How to boost your followers, yeah. So I'd say like people want to see people's faces. If you're comfortable to get on camera and talk about why you started up the business, your dreams, your ambitions, your aims, the stuff that you're going to give back to your community, the stuff that you hope to do with that brand that isn't just about flogging a pair of jeans, that stuff will work really, really well, because people can see your heart, and that will help you get followers in a really authentic way. So if you're comfortable, make it about your face and your ethos. And if you do want to apply budget on the social media pages to increase your followers, then I'd be looking at buying through the official platforms some page likes and Instagram followers, because unfortunately with fashion, the vanity metric, people going onto your feed and looking at how many followers you've got, is unfortunately a thing. So maybe do a quick boost to get page likes and followers, so that you can be perceived as up here and then grow organically, so you haven't got to be spending that money every month. Does that help?
Yeah,
No
that's
worries.
brilliant. Thank you. And I'm just going to pick up the question you asked earlier about pricing, which is how do you, and I like how you put it, how do you stop your family asking for your product or service for nothing? How do you deal with that?
Say no.
Yeah, don't give it to them. Don't give it to them.
It's just
No, they definitely have to learn about it.
Yeah.
Literally, and you know, come through the journey I've come through, it's been about saying, this is the price, you know, this is my company, you're either going to support me or buy. And that's been the hardest part.
so have a mate's rates. So you know it's 10% off
Yeah.
or whatever, and that's it. Or you know call it the family discount, whatever.
Yeah.
But yes, it's you know they've got value. They've got to respect the fact that if you're doing that, you can't be doing other stuff. So you're losing income by spending the time or giving them the product. So.
Yeah, and particularly it's your time, isn't it? Because that's where you see that very common with early stage entrepreneurs, that everything costs money except my time, which is nothing. And that's the wrong way around.
Yeah.
Actually, that's the most valuable, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The one thing I would say, if you have got friends who genuinely want your help, get them to do you a testimonial, and then then you've got social proof.
Yeah, and there's a value in that, isn't there?
Absolutely,
so,
yeah.
you know, here's 10% off, but you have to give me a testimonial.
Yeah.
Yeah? Okay. Okay. Any other questions? Any other questions? Yeah.
Yeah, I just had a question. So when going to sell products, is there like a fine line between being like maybe a little too assertive, maybe being too passive with different people you're trying to sell to?
Yeah, it's a good question.
Great.
Really
Okay,
good question.
Yeah.
Look, it depends on your sector and the person that you're dealing with. So in recruitment, it's kind of renowned for being quite aggressive sales, you know, like cold calling and stuff. We don't do any of that anymore. I wouldn't do it. It's painful. So, you know, in some environments, you know, it's consultative sales. So you're basically just asking them questions and listening. In other environments, you know, it might be a bit more, not aggressive. I would never encourage that, but a bit more kind of encouraging or forceful. Yeah, it just depends on your sector. I think the people you're dealing with.
Yeah, it comes down to knowing exactly who you want to work with. So the kind of people that you want to spend your days talking to, they're the kind of people that you want to target, and you'll know how to speak to them authentically, and you won't really be thinking about whether, you know, what way do you speak to them, because you'll just be speaking to them in your natural voice, because you want to work with them. They'll be drawn to you.
Awesome, thank you.
Yeah.
Can I just add
Yeah.
something on that? So at the beginning, when I used to sell, I was so desperate for the sale. I used to accept any money, any rubbishy terms, any discounts, just to get that sale because I needed the money. And I think what I do now different is I lead the call. And I was really passive, and I was just undervaluing myself, and that's still in me. Like, I know I've got the tendency to do that, so I'm really aware now when I'm on a sales call that it should be a win-win for the sales person and the buyer. Not one person loses, whereas before they had all the power because they were signing the cheque. They had all the power because then the accounts department was going to choose to pay me late or knock me for the money. Whereas now I very much come in at it from a win-win situation, and if I haven't got the right product or solution, that's fine. I'm happy to say, actually, do you know what, I'm going to walk away because I'm not right for you. Never had the confidence to do that before, and that's changed how I speak to people and speak with people 100%.
Yeah, and that's a powerful mindset, isn't it? That your customer is choosing you, but you're also choosing your customer.
Yeah.
And that's there's a great book by a dentist called Paddy Lund, which I don't think it's in print anymore, and I read it once, recommended by my dentist actually. And it's a guy in New Zealand, and dentists got a very high level of suicide rates actually. It was a really stressful job, and he got into a really low point. And the way he got out of it was he sacked 95% of his customers. He said, I've got, you know, I'm looking after your teeth, and it's a kind of, you know, it's an intimate process. I don't even like you, I don't want to work with you. And he just got rid of them all, and then he rebuilt his business. Like some of the things we've talked about here, he rebuilt the business from the 5% that he liked working with, found a niche in dental surgery with specialist procedures, and then made a huge success of that, and then wrote the book. And that was it was a very dramatic story, actually, if you look at it. The point was, he changed from being chosen by his customers to choosing them.
Can I just share an experience on that? What we now, I don't even know what year it is because of lockdown. What we
It's roughly, it's in the 21st century somewhere.
I was working with a client for 7 years. They were my longest client, and it got to the point where every day I woke up and I was scared to open their emails because I just knew what I was going to get, and I got so numb of the bullying that I was just like, I just can't do it. There's no money in the world is worth that feeling of dread when I think, oh God, what are you going to have a go at me about now? And for anybody that knows me, everyone knows I do my best. Like, I really, really try and do my best all the time. And it just got too much, and they said, I got an email or phone call one day. They said, oh, we've decided to take the work in-house because we're growing, and effectively we can't afford you at the resource level that you would require. And I was like, really not a problem. And financially that was a massive hit for me, but mentally and emotionally and self-care wise, oh my God, like, haven't looked back. So as Pablo said, don't be scared. Well, I'm glad that I'm not scared anymore to turn around and go, this isn't working for me anymore, because the pound signs might be great, but the cost of it is actually bigger.
I had exactly the same in recruitment. So one of my bosses, when I first got into it, they said, when you're trying to get business, if they're a pain in the to begin with, they'll always be a pain. So, you know, we'd always look out for that. If they're rude, if they're demanding, if they don't respect you, you know, just steer clear of them. They'll always do the same.
Yeah. So let me check with you. So is anybody started work or started their business, but they're not charging for what they're doing yet? Anybody doing that? Yeah. Anybody else? So you've got a bit of a business idea, you start, and you're not. So you're kind of giving. Is it time or product or? It's product. So what? Tell us a bit about it.
Okay, so my business is around body care products.
Yeah.
So it kind of came from my own story because my skin's always been problematic, and I've had so many different skin conditions. And
Yeah.
all the different shop bought things that you can get, it just never worked. So I kind of did a lot of research on like herbal plants and things like that.
Yeah.
And I made a cream myself that actually healed something.
Yeah.
So I've only right now given up some samples which have worked.
Great. Okay.
But I kind of hit a wall, and I know that some people say there's always going to be ups and downs, but for me it was just really kind of stressful because I feel sometimes like I'm by myself. Because obviously, entrepreneur, you don't really have a group of team or a team, sorry. So yeah, I'm kind of just rethinking and kind of getting back on my feet because it is quite hard.
Yeah.
Especially I'm probably the youngest one here as well. So yeah.
Yeah. Okay. That's great. So we are your team now. Okay. So you've created the product. It's worked for you. You've given away samples, and have you had feedback from that? From people saying, "Oh yeah, this is okay."
Testimonies, yeah.
Okay. So what next? What do you reckon?
Go on one of your courses. For sure.
Do you know? I wish I thought of that.
The structure that you kind of go through, but then also the mentor, having a mentor to kind of help you through it, because I'm not sure, you know, we can answer the question right here, right now. But testimonials and then using social media, because it's free. I'm sure you've done that already.
I made an Instagram account, but I've kind of been thinking how to put myself in the business without ruining the brand. Because I want my story to be there, but I don't want it to be like, oh, it's a young woman, don't take her seriously. Because the products work, and that's what I want to kind of push, but I want myself to be behind it.
And you should don't let your age be a barrier. It doesn't matter. In fact, to me, I would think amazing. This is a young woman who has gone out and found something that works for herself and made it work, and now she wants to help other people. So the kind of people that are going to buy from you are the kind of people that want to buy from a young woman. So put your face out there, put yourself out there, tell your story, tell it over. People forget, tell it over and over and over and over again until you meet someone and they say, oh, you're the girl who this happened and you made this amazing product.
Yeah.
So what would you say? I would say definitely get your face out there. Tell people how young you are. Tell people how hard it's been.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Emma, you with that as well? Yeah.
100%, Carrie. And I want to say, first of all, congratulations for keep going, because it's so easy to go, actually, do you know what, sorry, I'm not going to, so well done for carrying on, number one, and echoing 100% what Carrie said. And also, do you live up in London?
North London, so like Enfield area.
So you could get in front of your local newspapers to say, I'm a young person and I've just launched this product, support me, because they love a good news story like that. And at the moment, you know, they want to be fed. Right now with the pandemic, they want to be fed good news stories. I'd also link up with fellow youth entrepreneurs through the Vissionaires program as well, because then you will have that support network to go, actually, do you know what, that happened to me too. And 100% get your face out there. Start doing the kind of blogging and maybe even podcasts if you feel comfortable to get your story out there, because that'll be your book in the future.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. There's a great insights in there, because I hear this a lot of I've got my business and I've got me, and they're separate, and I'm not sure if I can put myself in front of the business. And do you know, when you're an entrepreneur, it's just you. It is. There's no business in you. You're it, right? And so and I do hear that a lot. Do I kind of promote this? Do I tell my story? We really encourage that, because you're doing that. You've got a passion for that. You want to do that for a reason, because of your personal experience. And people buy that. Yeah.
Thank you.
And thanks for the plug for the programs, by the way. So do come on the Vissionaires program, 6-day program. It's free. You apply. Go on visionaires.ac.uk. It's on here. You can apply there. Any of you. There's a few people who have done the program. You can talk to them at the end and find out what it's like. So it's 6 days, a day a week over 5 weeks, and then a day a little bit later on. So and that you're exactly the kind of place, the sort of folk we want to help. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay.
And I'm thinking when you do start selling, it's definitely subscription. So you want people to keep coming back.
Okay, thank you. That's one thing I kept wondering on, because I was like, I don't know if it would be kind of drawing an audience. But
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So I'm gonna come to you guys to ask about what your top 3 selling tips in a moment, and we may have heard them already, but just think about what those are. Before we do that, because you've touched on subscription, and we've talked about pricing, kind of mates rates for friends. We've talked about how you value your time as well. How do you figure that stuff out? That's probably one of the hardest questions I find about, how do I price my business? How do I price my time? How have you gone about that? Matt, go on. Yeah.
2 different experiences. So in the recruitment end, we want to be the best at what we're doing. So people charge between, say, 10 and 25%. We charge 25% because we want to be the best. Someone wants to buy the best, you typically pay for it. And then the online subscription business for the learning, it was a new product, a new service. No one else was doing it. So the honest answer is we just kept putting the price up every 6 months or so until we got to a point where people were going, actually, that's a bit toppy. I'm not going to buy that. I'm not saying people were rushing at it, but once we got that objection, like a lot, we're like, okay, we've hit probably the right amount. We haven't changed the price now for kind of 3 years. So yeah, that's probably how we've done it.
So there's a bit of trial and error. There's a bit of competitive position, and how good are you really?
Yeah.
Okay. Karen?
I agree, but also it's about what they're going to get from you, from what you're selling. So if you're selling something for £25 that's going to make them £1,000, you need to think about that transaction and put that up. I don't do rates mates anymore. I don't do discounts. In terms of pricing, what I did was to look at my competition and look at where I'm different. So your unique selling point, you'll hear about this a lot, and it becomes a cliche, but it's a cliche because it's true. So what are you offering that's different? A, yourself, so you're valuable, and B, there's something else that you're offering that the next person isn't, and that's valuable too. So take into consideration A, what you're offering, and B, what they're going to get from it. Don't price yourself by the market, price yourself by your value, and don't be tempted to, it can quickly become a race to the bottom. So like Matthew was saying, setting your percentage at 25%, automatically you're going to draw the people that value what you're doing. So kind of the higher your pricing, the better, until you hit that top tier. And I did the same. So I would say when I get three clients at this price, then I'll put it up. 3 clients at this price, put it up 5 or 10%, and play around with it. But once you've made your decision, don't bring it down again.
Brilliant. Emma, you with that? Yeah.
I've made every mistake that you guys. Literally, I've done the opposite, and I'm sitting there going, "Yeah, you're 100% right," because I've literally made every mistake there. I absolutely priced myself under. Social media has been driven down in terms of price over the years, so people now think you can do it for £10 a month, and there's a perception there that, well, I'll give you an example actually. I went to do an interview with somebody, and I walked in the room, and she said to me, "Emma, like, the first time I met you, I just thought you sat in your bedroom and done social media while your husband paid the bills." And I was like, wow, that's the perception of somebody in social media, that we sit in our bedrooms and there's no skill level. But actually, I've done 25 years in content, like, I'm trained in this stuff, but mentally I didn't believe that at the time. So I really hear what Carrie's saying, and it's brilliant advice, because I didn't have that mindset. And I've had to learn the hard way, and it's only now that I'm thinking, right, I need to change the business to position myself at, like you said, the value that I give, rather than somebody thinking that I've just written 50 sentences and that'll be 50 posts for the month. And that's been quite a hard lesson, but now that I've kind of recognised that about myself and the business model, then the only way is up, and it's been a valuable lesson to learn. And my son started his business in November. He does website design, and he's an only child, so he can do no wrong. He's my baby, but I've very much said to him, you know, you're the best, you can do everything, you set your market rate here, you get paid up front. I've basically told him everything that I did wrong, and now he has absolutely no qualms about saying it's this, you pay me up front, it'll be done here, and he set his boundaries so brilliantly, and I'm so impressed with him, apart from on a Sunday when I say, oh, can you just help me with this? And he says, no, I don't work at the weekends. I've taught him too well, but it's a mindset thing, yeah, and I didn't have that, which is why I undervalued myself and I didn't get paid for what I was worth, and I'm changing that.
Yeah. And these are just great lessons.
Can I just say, if you are a service provider, get paid up front. Don't worry about it. Get paid up front, and they'll come back as well. They'll thank you for it. Yeah.
What if you're providing for like the council and schools?
For the council and schools, get a big deposit. Get a big deposit. But it's down to your contract and your terms and conditions. You've got an accountant, you've got a lawyer, they've got an accountant, they've got a lawyer. Make sure that everything's signed, sealed and delivered before you enter the contract. Yeah.
And just on that, I think like sometimes I've been too English, I've been too reserved, I've been scared to talk about money, I've been scared to talk about payment up front and contracts and all of that, and now I'm like, and I feel so much more in control rather than waiting to be knocked or waiting to have to chase for the money.
Yeah. It's a good point. And go on.
So how did you figure out your pricing initially? Like how do you know about competitors, or how do you even structure? I agree, like being paid up front, or even overtime's another thing, especially social media. How do you figure out those tiers, especially starting off to grow, before you realise, okay? Because I think I know I'm a bit of a blogger, but like people tell each other, your mates, okay, I'm getting paid for this for an ad, but in a business setting it's a bit more different. It's not professional. Yeah, you're right. Probably charge much more than you realise. Because actually, in social media especially, brands have much more money and they don't let on that they get paid this much.
100%. Well, I don't want to steal my colleague's thunder tomorrow, because Kathy Ennis is going to be here and she's going to be doing a brilliant session about pricing. But she told me, and again, it's advice that I didn't follow at the beginning, I didn't even know, that we've got 100 workable hours in a year. So you need to look at what you need to earn, what you want to earn, and then divide that, and that's your hourly rate, and then you'll know what to do. I did it completely the wrong way round. I just plucked a figure out of the sky, and they said yes, and then they bought, and my conversion rate was like 90%. So I'd winning all these contracts, but as Kerry said, what I should have done is gone, wait a minute, I'm too cheap. People are saying yes too much, too quickly, put your price up, and I didn't have the confidence. So much more structured now. Look at my hours, look at how much I need to earn, and then subdivide it like that. But actually, I don't want to sell on hourly rates anymore. I want to sell on package and value, rather than like commodity.
When you figure out, I don't know, I keep going on about it, but it's so important. When you figure out your ideal client, you work out what their budget bracket is, and then it will be a good fit.
Do you ever ask the question, like, what is your budget?
Sometimes, I mean, I'm not really in a service where I need to do that, but my targeting, my marketing and my targeting is at a higher ticket.
Can I answer that about the asking? Because I've never done that before, whereas now I ask all the time. And when they go, oh, I don't know if I've got a budget, or not quite sure what my budget is, they know exactly what their budget is. So I say, in my experience, for something like this, people have paid between X and X. What end of the scale might you be? And then they always tell me, because it's not threatening. But when in the past I've gone like, what's your budget? They go, oh, that's a bit too scary. So I've kind of like reframed it.
And you'll have a range of products that fit within it. So if their budget's at the lower end, then you offer them that product.
Exactly.
Or even offer, I guess, this is what I could do, but if you want to scale it down or up or accordingly.
Exactly.
Yeah, but already have that set out before you're on the call.
Yeah.
And just picking up on, guys, I'll ask you for your top 3 in a moment. Just Shirley's point about working for councils and schools. When you're working for a large bureaucratic organisation, are schools and councils bureaucratic? Surely not. But if they were, apologies, Nate. If they were, then there are other things to think about, because you can't necessarily impose your conditions on them. But knowing how they work and talking to other people who work with them, that you can get a sense of what's possible here and what you can reasonably ask for. So, working with large corporates when you're an individual particularly, actually sometimes you have to work on their terms. But like we're saying here, making sure that you're valuing what that is so that you are getting a fair deal, it's still possible to do that. Yeah? So guys, top 3 from everything that you've said, or some of you haven't said yet, top 3 tips either for starting a business or for selling. I don't mind which one you choose or a mix of both, but top 3. Who wants to go first?
I'll go first.
Yeah.
So one I think we've kind of touched on a little bit, but not much, considering we're talking about sales and growth today, is competitor analysis. Mm-hmm. So a guy approached me recently to try and encourage me to invest in his business. He's a successful entrepreneur. He's doing a video interviewing app. And I asked him the question, what about the competition? He was like, yeah, I've looked at it, there isn't really much out there. I looked on the internet, there's loads of people that are doing it. I looked at doing it 10 years ago, my mate looked at doing it 6 years ago, and that I just lost total confidence in him. So people even that experience, my point, that don't even just go online and find out. So if you look, you talk about pricing, that's how you'll find about pricing. If either they'll advertise their prices or you pretend to be a customer, set up a dodgy Gmail account and ask them what they charge. You can find out about how they sell their products online, what words they're using, what images they're using. Like I used to go online and basically just nick all the best bits of all the other sites and kind of go, well, put that together and that's my proposition. Because people are spending, thousands and thousands of pounds developing these things. So I think competitor analysis is often overlooked. You need to know them inside out for sales and growth. Website we haven't really touched on, obviously everyone kind of needs one. It doesn't have to be, bells and whistles and amazing and loads of pages. Even if it's one page, but it's just really succinct and powerful in terms of you're saying what your customer wants to hear, you're solving the problem, it looks, professionally engaging, all the obvious things. And 90% of people start their journey online looking for whatever it is they're looking for nowadays. 90%. So 90% of your customers are online looking for what you do. What's my other one? Or be the best, which I've kind of spoken about before. I don't mean the best at, in the whole world and your whole sector, but in your niche, do whatever you need to do to believe that you are the best, and then it's much easier to sell.
Great advice, thank you.
Goodness, we covered loads. I ask for the sale, even though I've said sometimes you won't, a lot of the time you won't need to, but asking for the sale doesn't mean saying, come on, buy. It's, are we ready to start? When do you want me to send it? What card would you like to use? It's asking for the money and getting comfortable with it. So practice in front of the mirror, practice recording yourself. Some people don't like the sound of their voices, so record yourself and listen to it back. That's my tip as a voice coach. And when you've got, if you're selling, I sell on the phone. I sell person to person. So not all of your calls are going to end in a sale, so look at them as a practice, look at them as a rehearsal, and you might surprise yourself. So having that belief and knowing that you understand your product and your client, when you ask for the sale, you'll get it about 75% of the time. The other 25%, it doesn't matter because you've had a nice conversation.
Thank you. Emma, what's your top 3?
Top 3, really concentrate on creating your own assets, so you haven't got to pay Facebook and Google all the time. If you've got ebook in you, if you've got podcasts, if you've got imagery, if you've got blogs, testimonials, really concentrate on building an ecosystem of things that you own. Because if Facebook went down like it did the other day, that's a tough place to be if you haven't got the website that Matt said, or you haven't got an email newsletter list. Create enough assets that you're protected no matter what the big platforms do, and then you're going to create wealth in your business in that way. That's number 1. Number 2, don't worry about what everyone else is doing, concentrate on your lane. Like, I don't see anybody else. Like, I think there's other social media managers, maybe, I don't know. But like, I just concentrate on what I'm doing and being the best that I can do and doing things my way. I don't sit and compare myself to others because they're different. We've all got unique strengths. I'm a Buddhist, so I'm very much about we've each got unique qualities and I can't compare myself to others. And if you've got the passion and you're willing to put in the hard work, you're not going to starve, so keep going.
Right. Thank you. Thank you. Wise words indeed. So before we finish, I've got just a few things to cover. Nathan is our colleague from Westminster City Council who very kindly are sponsoring our events this week. Do you want to come and tell us a bit about what you do?
Yeah. So, well, first of all, I want to say thank you to the college, also Pablo and the amazing panel both here and virtually as well.
If you stand here, you'll be in camera.
Oh, okay.
Fab.
So yeah, I'm Nathan. I work in the business and enterprise team at Westminster City Council, and just wanted to say thank you to everyone for being involved, and also just kind of flag the support that the council gives as well. So there's a whole team, whole service at the council that is kind of geared towards helping entrepreneurship, helping businesses that are established to thrive, survive, to grow. And there's the Business Westminster website, so businesswestminster.com, has lots of information on there. And if you just search for Business Westminster on Google, it'll come up as well, just around kind of advice to start up a business. We can have signposts to people like Vissionaires, but also kind of other avenues of support, help find premises as well. So my team in particular more focuses on helping to find space for people, entrepreneurs that are growing, but also businesses that are moving in. And also connect to other kind of business networks or other similar-minded businesses that you might want to work with. Just wanted to kind of flag that as a thing.
Great. Thank you very much.
There's also a really useful newsletter that the council does as well. It's on that Business Westminster website. If you're not subscribed directly.
Okay. And what we'll do, Nathan, we'll pick up those links. We'll make sure we put those on our website, so we can make sure that people have got those signposts. So so first of all, let me thank our wonderful panel, guys. Thank you so much. It was brilliant. Thank you. And thank you all for coming. As I said at the beginning, just very couple of quick things on the rest of this week. So tomorrow we've got a session like this with some other panelists. We've got somebody from Coutts Bank, from PwC, and Kathy, who you said, who is has also got a social media angle on how you build your business. But it's all going to be about money, generating sales, generating income, raising finance, getting grants, and so on. So that's tomorrow. On Thursday, we've got this event again, same time. If you want to do a pitch, I know some of you already said that you're going to come and do a pitch. You can do a 1-minute pitch on that day. We'll have a panel like this talking about pitching, and also a slightly shorter session so we can hear from you on that day. And whoever does the best pitch gets 2 free coaching session support from us at Vissionaires. So do please come and do that. We will ask you for feedback. Feedback is a critical part of any organisation. It's a critical part of ours. We've built what we do on the basis of what folk that have come on our programmes like you before and have told us, this is what I need. So you're helping other people to learn from things that we could do better. So we will send you that at the end of this week. If you want to do the pitch, by the way, talk to Anna at the back. She's standing there. Wave at us. There's Anna there. And we didn't touch on it too much today. We mentioned it a couple of times. Networking, really recommend it. You're very welcome to stay, talk to each other, talk to us. We'll hang around for a little bit. Are we able to do that? A little bit will be. And remember, Carrie has got 1 or possibly 2 books.
Well, I had to, but I've got 1.
Somebody's nipped it already. She's grabbed it already. You were quick off the mark. Excellent.
No, it was me.
Yeah?
I was so impressed, I showed my friend.
Yeah, well, I don't know, maybe sort of finders keepers.
Yeah.
So thank you very much. If you want to talk to us, please do. If not, if you're coming back tomorrow, we'll see you tomorrow. Thank you.
Thank you.